Hello everyone and welcome to your Tuesday edition of the Blood Red podcast, brought to you by the Liverpool Echo. I'm your host Theo Squires, and joining me today we have our chief LFC writer, Ian Doyle. How are you, Doyle?
I'm okay. You're speaking highly again of me and of everything, in fact. So, yeah.
We are just a two-man pod again today, I'm afraid. Joe Rimmer is around, but he is very, very busy, so pardon his absence. Paul Gorst, our LFC correspondent, both home and away. He is back home, but he's enjoying a well-earned week off after touring the Far East. And Keith McDonald is also on a week off too. I cannot possibly comment on whether the notorious podcast Dodgers break is well-deserved or not.
They'll need him. Might need him soon.
We might do.
They have to get used to this kind of podcast with two people. It'll be just one of us chatting to ourselves.
Pre-season is pretty much over after Liverpool's double-header with Athletic Bilbao last night. So we're basically right back into the thick of the action, aren't we, Doyley? But for the rest of you, it's the summer holidays. So if you're going abroad on your jollies, why not download NordVPN's new app, Sailing?
That's absolutely seamless, isn't it? I quite like that. Go on. Sorry, I've interrupted you there. Sorry.
It's a new eSIM service app which is available for download, which will allow you reliable and affordable internet access on your trip abroad. Choking on my own words there. You can choose from several affordable eSIM data plans in over 200 destinations, and with Saley's eSIM you will always have a connection when needed. You can download it in your app store and use our code BLOODRED at checkout to get an exclusive 15% off on your first purchase. For more information, please go to our episode description box for further details or click on saley.com/bloodred. Moving on, as always, we're live on YouTube, so get your questions in, get your comments in, and we'll get to them later in the show. But there is only one place to start, Doyley, and that's the Bilbao double-header. 4-1 and 3-2 wins for the Reds. It was a good evening for Arne Slot's men. What did you make of it all?
That your voice is still really high, I have to say. It just getting even higher then, wasn't it? You don't talk like that normally, so no. It's yeah. Can we never ever have two games on at the same evening?
It's a long day,
because it just seemed to go on forever, and it was interesting that we noticed in the second half of the second game, halfway through, that about half the crowd had gone home. And I know from I put that out, and the amount of people who said they ran out of food really early on, and I've got the kids and they're getting a bit tired, and I'm just getting tired, that kind of thing. I mean, I don't blame them for not hanging around for the full two games. It's hard going, isn't it? Although you could argue that, they certainly got good value. The first game was particularly entertaining all the way from start to finish because it had that kind of novelty value because there were so many younger players and fringe players who were getting minutes. And, I mean, to be fair, in the second game, we had the sight of Will Wright, and I'm pretty sure the majority of people in that stadium were like, who's this coming on?
He's quite high at the top of the website at the moment. People reading
exactly, yeah. So I'm trying to work out who he is. But, overall, sure, we'll get into the nuts and bolts of it all, but in terms of fitness, I mean, there was a slight concern I spotted with Trey and Yoni. Yeah. He possibly might have tweaked a hamstring or something. That's just going off from what we actually saw with our own eyes. But other than that, it seems everybody else came through unscathed, got minutes under the belt. Alexis McAllister was somebody who needs to play a bit. In particular, the only downside is that there was hardly any centre-backs there, and we had the strange sight at the first game of Trey and Yoni lining up at centre-back alongside Andy Robertson. And then Welity Lucky ends up, academy prospect, he ends up coming on and featuring there. And in the second game, it was Canati and Endo, and Nallo ends up coming on, and he ends the game at centre-back alongside Canati. So that's not ideal, especially when you've got two full-backs in Kirkes and Frimpong, who played in this. The second game is obviously the stronger team, and a team that I don't think it'll be too far removed from the one that plays against Crystal Palace. And you got no goalkeeper either in terms of Alisson Becker wasn't available. Obviously, they did have a goalkeeper, but not the first choice goalkeeper. Mamadashvili played. So overall, going forward, Liverpool look as though there's a lot they can build on, a lot of promise there defensively. While Arne Slot was speaking after the game, he mentioned we didn't give the opposition too many chances, which is true. They didn't really get. There was one chance on the counter-attack. Well, I don't even think it ended up as being a chance. I think Liverpool ended up getting enough players back, but the defending at set pieces.
Was that the one when Anyoni cuts across over?
Yeah. The set pieces defending wasn't great. I mean, okay, one of them was an own goal, but
all three goals across the game that would be a bit annoyed about. They're at fault for themselves there.
Yeah, I mean, saying the goal. I mean, obviously the goal in the first game, Lucas Stevenson had a good game actually, ends up misdirecting a header, and it goes straight to their player to score. Second game, deep free kick, they don't clear it properly, and he comes back out, player knocks it in. And obviously the second goal in the second game, defensively, they don't clear the first header. And that's why it ends up hitting Gakpo because the Bilbao player gets the head onto it. So we may as well just deal with that first because it's hard to really judge Liverpool from that point of view for all the reasons that we just said before. Conor Bradley wasn't there. He's got a minor injury, slight concern because he seems to get a lot of these. And I actually think that if everybody was fit, I think he'd be starting the season at right back. Virgil van Dijk was ill, which again, he should be okay for Palace, but it underlines that they got so few centre-backs because there was no Joe Gomez who's still injured. No Alisson Becker, as I mentioned. So it's not representative of the team that Liverpool are going to be playing for most of the season.
Even if it was the first choice centre-backs, when you're trying to blood in new fullbacks...
Exactly, that's what I mean.
It's going to make it,
Exactly. There's going to be... I don't think both fullbacks will be starting the season, to be honest, if everybody's fit. So that's the negative of the game. But, I mean, if you want to talk about the positives, which I'll allow you to talk about the positives, because I've been talking a bit there. The positives, obviously, would be Liverpool's attacking play because they scored 7 goals across the 2 games.
And the 2 star men, well, the big names, Florian Wirtz and Hugo Ekitike, they both lived up to those price tags in that second game. I thought they played really well. Granted, they didn't get your star rating and your player ratings after the match, but they were...
Not that we should be doing player ratings for a friendly, but this is the modern era.
They were the players that fans wanted to see and had most intrigue about them, and they delivered. They both did really well.
Well, Ekitike is a bit different in the sense that he's only just signed, hasn't he? This was only his second appearance, and he sets up the opening goal for Mohamed Salah with a good run from after being found by Szoboszlai, wasn't it? Who I thought was Liverpool's best player in the second game.
It reminded me a bit of, that Torres run against Chelsea when he scored his first goal. Granted, Ekitike's not got the goal, but that pace, the trickery to get away from the defender.
I think it was also because he was quite strong and he got his head down, and he's quite tall, and he's all arms and legs, basically. You wouldn't want to play against him. He's really awkward, but he's got a good balance to him, and he's quite clearly more than just a target man. As we can see, he's quite good with his feet. He did put 1 or 2 challenges in, which I wouldn't say he was lucky to get away with, but they were quite strong for a friendly, let's put it that way. And fortunately, the defenders saw them coming, as it were. I think he was just trying to impress, really. But that was Ekitike. And it was interesting that the goal came from him racing down the inside left channel, because I think Liverpool might not be finished in the transfer window just yet, as we know. We'll get on to that a bit later on.
Cool.
He could end up being an option down the left, especially with Diaz having left. And I know we've spoken previously about Wirtz can do that, but I think we've seen on the evidence so far, only been a couple of games, obviously, that he's featured in, but certainly the game on last night is that he wants to be playing as a number 10. Arne Slot wants him playing as a number 10, and he's already showing signs of being very good at getting into those scoring positions. He had 2 chances in the first half, didn't he? Did it actually hit the bar, that first one? I know you told me that I couldn't quite see it properly.
I think it did. I think it skimmed it.
Well, he was close anyway.
Yeah.
He knew he was close for his reaction. And then there was another chance. That was from a Gakpo cross. And then there was the other chance from Salah set him up and Simon in the Bilbao goal. It took him 2 goals to save it. That was close again. And he went across to take a corner in the second half, got a big ovation from the Kop, and then when he got subbed, the crowd all applauded him. And I know you might say they're going to do that because he's a new signing, but I think he merited it because I think they can see the kind of player he is. And I've previously mentioned on this podcast that he reminds me a little bit of Trent in terms of his gait and some of his passing, totally different position. So it's quite pleasing then to hear that without prompting, Arne Slot said kind of the same thing in the sense of the passes that he can do. He says obviously it's from a completely different position, but he can do the kind of defence splitting passes and the kind of same kind of creativity that Trent offered from the right back position. Wirtz can offer from higher up the pitch as a number 10. I mean, I don't expect him to be dropping back and pinging diagonals and all that stuff. He's a different kind of player. Although there were some, when Liverpool were countering, he was playing a few nice passes. And I know not all of them came off, but then that's going to happen with a team that has so many new players, as it were, certainly in the attack, that are just trying to adapt to how Slot wants them to play, because I would imagine you pointed out that Salah's playing more inside.
He was when it was Frimpong, but in the other games where it's been Bradley going central. So.
Well, the thing is that there's a bit of variety there for Salah, and that's something that he mentioned towards the end of last season, that he said that, he's found that under Slot, for the first 6 months, he got a bit more freedom the way they're playing, but then teams got onto it, and it became a bit more difficult, but then that's always the case with these top players. And I think with Wirtz, it will be interesting to see how the opposition deals with him in the first few weeks, because it will be something different, because that's not something that Liverpool have had in their armoury, because under Klopp they didn't play with a number 10. Under Slot last season it was more Dominic Szoboszlai, who's a totally different kind of number 10. He was very good on the pressing, and while he did get some goals and assists, it wasn't quite the numbers that I'm expecting from Wirtz, because just different types of players.
And Wirtz obviously also made himself very popular with the journalists present, because he stopped in the mix zone. We actually spoke to him.
He did, actually, yeah. We both had a word with him. He said he hates you, by the way. He didn't really. But he did. That's such an in-joke, isn't it?
Yeah,
no one is going to understand that.
But I was the only question that had to be repeated. He understood everyone else.
Yeah, basically, yeah. At least we asked him in English. I don't know sure what language you were speaking.
I was too high-pitched for him.
He came across as actually quite, not shy, but you wouldn't say, oh, there's a £160 million football in front of you. He doesn't seem to have much of an ego or anything like that. But that's always the great myth about footballers. There's very few that actually do, especially in this day and age. I think they're all quite level-headed. They just happen to have a lot of pressure on them. But he didn't exactly act like he has. He was asked about, wasn't he, about the transfer fee, club record transfer fee, and he says, I don't even think about it. I don't control that. And he spoke quite openly about, I've got the freedom to do not necessarily what he wants, but he's got the freedom to express himself on the pitch within the framework of the team itself. But he did admit, look, I've not played in the Premier League, and that's going to be coming up, and we'll have to see how I cope, because I wouldn't say he was slight, but he's not the most physically imposing of footballers. But then I'd hardly say, hang on, I was going to say something. I'm going to say it anyway. I'd say Lionel Messi is the largest of people. He's quite good at football. That's not me comparing Wirtz to Lionel Messi, by the way, but I'm just...
Have you got the time notes for that one?
Exactly. Yeah. I'm just pointing out that you don't have to be a big lump to be dead good at footy. Now that would be a great clip, wouldn't it?
We'll go through some of the new signings now. Do you want to start with the goalkeepers? Mamardashvili, he made a great save in that second game. Petski did as well in the first game, that one-on-one, and Woodman kept a clean sheet.
He's a hungry under-21 international, Petski. I think he's not just been plucked out of where's he come from? It's like, no, this is like an under-21 international who's played at the top level in Hungary for a little while now, and he's played in Europe as well. So, yeah, he looked all right. Bilbao didn't do a lot in the first game, did they? Let's be honest, in the first half, so Woodman didn't have a lot to do. Mamardashvili, similar, but towards the end he made a couple of good saves, and that's what he's there for. We know that that's what his strength is, and he demonstrated that. I know that... we were talking before in the office, and that he doesn't look massively comfortable with the ball at his feet. But I think that's something that they can work on. He's only been here for a couple of weeks anyway.
Especially when he's not going to be first choice.
And also, he's not been playing alongside what will end up being the settled defence, behind the settled defence, so it does make it a little bit more difficult.
We heard from Mamardashvili in the mix zone as well, very, very briefly, asking for directions.
Yes, he said this way, and then that was that. I'm sure we'll get to hear from him a bit more over the course of the next couple of years, because he's somebody that Liverpool have obviously invested a lot of money in, and I would imagine they see him as the long-term successor to Alisson Becker if things go to plan.
And now the fullbacks, Frimpong and Kerkez, probably quiet evenings for the two of them, not as involved as they maybe had been during the tour of the Far East.
Well, Frimpong played right back, didn't he? I'm pretty sure that's the first game he started at right back. He's been spending
his first start, I think. He's been coming on as a sub, hasn't he, in all the other friendlies?
I think you might be right there. I think, well, he's certainly been playing more advanced as in replacing Salah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he fell over a little bit too many times for me. Probably needs some new studs. And he did get caught upfield once or twice. His pace got him out of that, but whether or not that's something he's been told to do, as in get forward, not run back, by Arne Slot, we don't know just yet. But again, it's going to take a while for him and Kerkez, I reckon, to kind of adjust to what's needed for this Liverpool team, which is what makes it all the more important that the centre-backs and the goalkeepers are in place, which at the moment they're not. So, that is, I say, that's the one concern. But Kerkez was quite funny in this. He did a couple of tackles or strong challenges, or not even they weren't even that strong. It was more determined to get the ball challenges, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Other players could have just let them go by, but he was like, nah, I'm having this, and he went and got it twice. So the fans like that. But as I say, he's still working on his partnership with Gakpo down the left, and Frimpong with Salah.
We have already had quite a few comments on Rio and Gamoa, so let's go on to Rio.
Yeah.
He's had a brilliant pre-season, and it took him, 87 seconds to introduce himself to Anfield. Special goal. Within 6 minutes, he's got an assist as well. He's a real talent, isn't he, Doyle?
He is, but he's only 16, so we've mentioned a couple of times that he himself has said that I'm going to have to be patient. There's no rush. So I wouldn't be throwing him into the start against Bournemouth, let's put it that way. But he's probably played himself onto at least the bench for the Community Shield against Crystal Palace, and he will get a chance to play, I reckon. He'll play at some point. I mean, all he can do is what he does. It was interesting because we both commented on the fact that other than the goal, the assist, and I think one or two other runs, he wasn't really involved that much.
Because we were watching one of the compilations, weren't we, between the two games, and it was a lot of simple passes backwards. The dribble's not really going anywhere. Yeah,
I mean, that's going to come, isn't it? You learn that over time with experience, but compare that to the other friendlies that he's played, and he's been a lot more involved, but then the standards of opposition overall, okay, AC Milan were half decent, but not being as good in the sense of the reputation of them, you know. I mean, I know it wasn't the first game wasn't Athletic Bilbao's first team, and I think what we learned from that is that Liverpool's squad is a lot stronger than Bilbao's, but we knew that already. But for Ngamoa, he's just doing what he can do, and of course there's no pressure on him, so no one's expecting anything from him. So to do that after 87 seconds, did you say? I knew it was less than 90. To get the ball, it was quite funny as well. It's the Curtis Jones was right next to him, and he's just like, get away from me. You can just tell he's like, go away, I know what I'm doing here. Just runs forward, the defenders just go off him, and then it's the fact that he goes in off the post as well. Yeah. He keeps it away from the goal, because it wasn't like an obvious goal-scoring opportunity, was it? He made it into one with the opening his body and shooting
similar
the way that he was.
To the one he scored in the last friendly against Yokohama, but it was a much better finish.
Yeah, well, that's it. You know, and it was with his right foot. Was the other one with his right foot as well?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
But that was like the low one, wasn't it, that the keeper got a touch to, I think.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I've seen a lot of him playing for the academy teams last season, and what was interesting is that at the academy level, the other teams just went 2, 3, sometimes 4 players on him because he was quite clearly the best player. But when he's playing in the senior team now, he isn't quite clearly the best player. He's probably, to some respects, the one that they're not paying as much attention to. And that's given him more space in which to do these kind of things, because don't care what level you're at. If you've got 4 players in front of you, it's going to be a lot more difficult than just having one in front of you. And I think he's kind of revelled in that. And further down the line, if he ends up taking an extra player with him, it means that one of Liverpool's other attacking players / midfielders will have a bit more space in which to operate. So that's what he can bring to the team. But as I said, he'll get minutes at Wembley, but after that, you might have to wait until the League Cup, possibly.
Well, at best, he's going to be, the 6th choice forward if they go and sign Isak, and then maybe another one, depending on who goes. You're not going to have him as you go
Isak?
Potentially, we don't know.
Clip that.
He's not going to be the go-to off the bench when you need a goal. He's the one you turn to maybe when you're 3-0 up.
Yeah. Well, that's you shouldn't be turning to a 16-year-old anyway to get you out of anything in football. But, again, it's like Trey and Yoni, want to mention him. He started the game as centre-back, and I thought, apart from 1 or 2 passes, which you're always going to get from somebody who's that kind of player playing in that kind of position, which perhaps he shouldn't have done, he did well. And he had that little Van Dijk moment as well, didn't he, when they were 2-on-1 and he just decided, I'm not even going to bother going chasing the guy who's going running away. I'll just block the eventual pass, which is what he did. So he can be happy with his performance. But yeah, Ngamo was the standout in the first game.
We've had a couple of comments and questions about him. Firstly, from Bongo O'Malley, he wants to check how we pronounce his name. I think we've got it right, haven't we?
I can't remember. I just
is it Ngamoa?
It's Ngamoa. No, I think it's Ngamoa and Yoni, or it's the other way around. I need to check that out.
Well, he's made it easier for us by having Rio in his shirt.
Yeah, and the crowd were chanting his name, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
A couple of minutes.
Pretty much as soon as he got the goal, weren't they? Bongo also says, I know he's only 16, we need to calm down, not overplay him, etc. But I've not seen anything like him before. I was lucky enough to see Owen's debut and was suitably impressed, but this is something else. Now, you'll have seen a lot of these very good teenage Liverpool players over the years.
I mean, it's difficult to say, really, to be honest, because you got to bear in mind this is a Liverpool team that are the Premier League champions and are extremely good anyway. So that the actual level of player around him is higher than when Michael Owen got into the team, for example, or so I suppose you can liken it to Steve McManaman a little bit because he came into or started to get in and around the team that were the champions at the time, and he was good. You could see straight away, but he was a little bit older, and I do think that Rio is, as I say, he's not 17 till is it
end of the month?
It's end of the month, isn't it? Yeah, so he's got plenty of time. There's no need to overburden him because one thing we've noticed certainly from Liverpool, and I would imagine it's the same at a lot of other academies, is that injuries can be a bit of a problem. Certainly when they get to this kind of age where they're having that last spurts of physicality where they grow a bit more, and then after that it's about building that core, and you can't do that until they've developed fully, and I think he's still in that process, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Redman76, he brings up the Yamin Lamau.
What?
I always struggle with that. Yamin Lamau.
The Barcelona lad.
The Barcelona lad.
Yeah.
He brings up that defence to it going, well, he's doing all this at 16, 17, 18.
Well, I would say that... Oh, how can I put this? Right. I would say La Liga isn't as intense as the Premier League, but don't forget he's now played a season and a bit in it, and he's played in the Champions League, and he's played in the Champions League semi-final, and he's played in the Euros.
Nations League?
That doesn't count. That's not really competition, is it? It's like the Club World Cup. These things are just there. No one... Who won the Nations League 4 years ago? Exactly.
Portugal?
Right. I don't know. Probably. They normally do, don't they? So yeah. But I mean, come on. There's always an exception to every rule. So, well, that's unhelpful. An unhelpful comparison straight away. There you go. Stop it.
Moving on to the other young winger in that first game, Ben Doak. If we're very kind, he scores. If we're not, it's an assist. But he played well. And
he also put the ball across for the second
Nunes'
goal.
goal, yes.
Second goal that Ngamo headed down. Yeah, Doak, I think we have seen a difference between him and Rio in the sense that we mentioned this before. I think Rio's decision making and final ball is better already.
Doak has improved, though. You can tell he's had a good half season on loan.
Yeah, but he is even further behind the pecking order, isn't he? Yeah. Now that he's a right winger, Salah's there, Frimpong's there, and he's probably not going to be playing. Let's be perfectly honest, and I think he knows that. We know that a lot of clubs have had a look at him. Now Everton had a look towards the end of last season at the start of the transfer window. I think it's gone pretty quiet there now. I think they don't.
Maybe if they don't want to spend 50 million on a certain Southampton winger, they'll have another look.
Well, they're also the signing Dewsbury Hall, which can we do the wedding venue joke now? Never been there, kind of thing. We can do that joke now. But we know that say clubs West Ham and Wolves are the latest two that have been having a look at the situation, and I would be very much not surprised if he ends up going somewhere else, Stoke that is, by September the 1st. So that's one of many who could have been making their last Anfield appearance, because there were question marks over one of the reactions of one or two people who went there after the game where...
Well, that comes on to our next point.
Yes, our forensic analysts of body language and social media posts were intrigued by it.
Yeah, very cryptic. It was Harvey Elliott and Darwin Núñez looking a little bit emotional in some of the pictures, waving to all the stands, blowing kisses, touching the badge on the chest, and then love heart emojis when they were reacting on social media. Kostas Tsimikas did that as well, though not quite to the same extent. But you wouldn't be surprised if those 2-3 did move on. But Elliott and Núñez, perfect send-off if so. They get the goal.
Yeah, I mean, Núñez was a bit of a Núñez performance, wasn't he? The goals that he scored in the summer have all been really good, actually. Proper strikers' goals, first-time finishes. So, from that respect, yeah, he's done all right. But
he scored more in pre-season than he did last season.
No, somebody else said this. It's
must
not,
be close.
is it?
It's 6 and 7.
I'm sure he got 7 last year.
Yeah.
Is it 6 that he's got? I thought he got 5, isn't it?
Must be 5.
It's 5, isn't it? 5 goals. The 3 against Stoke and the 1 against Preston.
Yeah.
And this one, so that's 5. Yeah. I mean, you saw he played in the first game. Ekitike played in the second game. That kind of tells you a lot about what you need to know. But at least he started, unlike Chiesa, who only got some minutes towards the end of the second game. So he's another player. mean, Liverpool got a lot of forwards now, and it wouldn't be wise to keep them all. And I think that, we've mentioned Harvey Elliott didn't play a lot. Didn't play a lot last season in what he regards as his preferred number 10 role, and now Wirtz has come in. We've seen Szoboszlai has responded very well to that and ended up wherever he's ended up. I think he ended up playing right back at the end of the game yesterday, but he was very good. Best player in the second game, I thought, overall. And Elliott, there's just no
way into that.
There's no room for him, unfortunately. And at his age, even though he is older than Wirtz, another club would probably be the best solution for everybody. And at least, he's had 5-6 years at Liverpool, and he's won trophies. So
scored some big goals in that time too.
Yeah, and I think there's just always that kind of thing that that there's a very good player there, and you're always reluctant to let very good players go, but sometimes you have to, unfortunately.
I suppose the one thing that could save him is Arne Slot does look a little bit more prone to rotating the side.
Prone? That's not the word.
Probably isn't, no.
No, it's not. Try again.
He looks a bit
open to rotation.
Yes, open. He looks a bit more open to rotating the side going into the season because the depth is there. And Elliott didn't get the chances last year because he took a while to get back after injury.
But the rotation is Wirtz, Szoboszlai. You could say Curtis Jones.
They all played
deeper role. But then you got Gravenberg. You've got McCarthy. You got Curtis Jones. You got Endo
and Yoni.
He's going to be someone again like Ngamoa, who's done quite well this summer and made the most of his opportunities that he's got. So, and again, another person who looks like he's physically grown over the last six months. So, yeah, Elliott and Nunez, we know he's probably going to be on his way, and you don't spend all that money on Ekitike and then go chasing after Alexander Isak if you're going to be keeping Darwin Nunez, I'm afraid.
There were a couple of nice emotional moments in both games, paying tribute to Diogo Jota and Andre Silva. I don't think you'd got into your seat when they did the wreaths.
I didn't see that, no, because we'd had an evacuation.
We did have an evacuation, and you hadn't been signed in at that point, so you had to be in the queue, whereas I'd already been in.
You got it, yeah.
But yeah, so Phil Thompson and the Bilbao president, they laid floral wreaths in front of the Kop, and then obviously his chant gets sung. And then during both games, in the 20th minute, play stops for everyone to basically take part in a standing ovation. I know there's going to be more at Wembley, more against Bournemouth in that Premier League
opener. More against Newcastle as well.
Yeah, but yeah, it's nice to still be paying tribute to Diogo Jota. It's touching.
Well, it is, yeah. I mean, it was not, the bit where they stopped the game after 20 minutes and the players.
Have they advertised that beforehand?
I think they must have done. I don't know for sure. I didn't see it myself, but that was a nice moment. And, we know it's going to be like this for a good while, certainly for the next month, I reckon. And when Liverpool when they do play Wolves, we mentioned this. I think it's December the 27th, and then towards the end of the season. So they'll be very emotional occasions. And Wolves are doing their own tributes to Jota and his brother. So yeah, it is a kind of a reminder that life for Liverpool has to go on, and they don't want to be seen to be crass because they have to. It was interesting as well, actually, outside the ground, because they cleared all the floral tributes and that had been left there, but then there was another lot kind of
they were there on Friday.
Were they still? But they still there?
On that section on the left.
Were they still there? Yeah, I thought they'd got rid of all of them. To be fair, so
I think they'd got rid of the majority, so people to start putting a few more.
Well, not
left.
Got rid. They just moved
because they've been repurposed, aren't they, for the sculpture?
So it was a touching moment, and the fans obviously wanted to pay their tribute as well. They did it. They did it twice for both games and before on the game as well.
I know we've touched on the 4 players that missed the game, but Arne Slot did speak about it, so we might as well cover it in a little bit more detail. Alisson, we know, was a personal matter.
Yep.
That's emerged that his wife underwent an operation in Brazil, so we'll wait and see if he's back for the Community Shield.
Slot seems to think he will be.
He will be. Van Dijk was illness. He thinks he'll be back as well.
He'll be okay. Not so sure on the other two, though.
Yeah, Conor Bradley, minor injury. They haven't said what that is, have they?
No.
And Joe Gomez, it's still the minor Achilles issue. Were you saying there are doubts for both games, Palace and Bournemouth?
No, he spoke about Palace, and he said it's touch and go for Bradley and Gomez for Palace, which of course is only on Sunday, which kind of has, I wouldn't say it's gone under the radar, but it's a trophy, isn't it? It's not it's the traditional season curtain raiser, as we have to say, and it is essentially a glorified friendly, and no one ever remembers who wins it. Who won it last year?
Who played it last year?
Well, it must have been Man City against somebody. United? City United?
Yes.
Must have been.
Did United win that one?
I can't remember. That's the point. That's the point.
Did it go to penalties?
It doesn't really have that much. I think it might have actually. It doesn't really have that much bearing on what's to come. But
City won on penalties.
what you don't want to do is get battered in it. And it's, it is a friendly that is only 5 days ahead of Liverpool's first game of the season. So it's the last chance for Slot to try some things out, or players to prove that they can be ready to play in that first game. So it's important.
Alexander Isak now, because we didn't record on...
Is there any more comments, by the way? Any more comments? Let's go through them before we...
You want to put off
before that? Let's put off Isak for a bit.
AR says, what's happening with Tsimikas, Ramsey, Williams, Chiesa and Nunes?
Right, let's go one at a time, please. Go on.
Tsimikas.
Don't know.
Ramsey and Williams.
Don't know.
They'll either stay with the 21s or leave.
Yeah.
Chiesa.
Ramsey at least was played. Ramsey played,
didn't
he? Yeah. I'm saying Ramsey had obviously missed a lot of last season through injury, so at least he's back in action.
He's had his shirt number taken off him, though, hasn't he?
Yeah. Tsimikas, there were quite a lot of clubs linked with him at the start of the summer. That's gone a bit quiet, but he's played. And I actually think he's played all right during the games.
He's been better at left back than he is at centre back.
Yeah.
Chiesa and Nunes.
Well, we mentioned Nunes. AC Milan look as though they're now the ones that are more in for him than anyone else at the moment.
I thought it was Al Hilal.
Well, I think he'd rather go to AC Milan.
Yeah.
And Chiesa, the whole Ademola Lookman situation at Atalanta, whether or not they then turn to him to help fill that particular breach should it happen.
It's another Darwin question, but Carl Brooks asked, has he done enough to stay? I suppose as many as you scored pre-season, it's just pre-season.
Yeah, has he done enough to stay? Yes, but unfortunately, there are lots of other players now who are there, so they are ahead of him. And if he does stay, he's not going to be playing very often. So for his sake, he's better going, and Liverpool are better off with the money.
You'll like this comment from Alan Gibson. Eat a tea cake will be a big hit for us this season.
Well, it's early doors, but you don't spend an initial £69 million on a player if you're not going to play him quite a lot. And Slot, to be fair, he mentioned him after the game and said he's going to be a big player for us.
Another comment from Bongo. I'm quite zen about the centre-back situation. The need is so glaring that there's no way Slot, Hughes and Edwards haven't got something up their sleeves. With Palace at the weekend, you could get a potential look at someone who could be a solution.
Or he might not play. Yeah, which would be quite instructive over things. Yeah, I mean, they're obviously looking at a lot of centre-backs because they're going to have to, realistically, they're probably going to have to sign 4 in the next 2 years. A complete new set of centre-backs. So you better start in that now, because next summer you can do all your preparations for it. But fortunately, they're not going to have to. They won't be signing any fullbacks. They won't be signing any goalkeepers. They won't be signing any forwards, and probably no midfielders either. So at least they know where they're going to be looking.
Redman points out that if Liverpool sign Isak, Newcastle sign Sesko, Newcastle will probably also have the money to pay the asking price for Mark Gay. They've been in for him before. I suppose it's many spinning plates, isn't it? Like, Liverpool can't not sign someone if they want him just because they might lose out on someone else.
No, that's not how it works, unfortunately. Well, it does at some clubs, which is why they're getting a complete mess. I think Liverpool obviously know what they're doing. Well, we know that they're interested in Gay anyway. So,
but if he wasn't out of contract next year, they probably wouldn't be in for him. It's a market opportunity. Like we've seen them in the past.
But the problem thing is, it's now because they've sold quantity, they've now made it into an actual necessity, I think. My only worry is that if they do go, let's just go into the season with Gomez, Van Dijk and Konate, because the other thing on Konate is...
He might go.
Well, he's not signed a new contract, and it will become a distraction. And I think sometimes with Konate that he's, unlike some other players, I think he does get distracted by stuff. I think sometimes that he's been guilty of that. Maybe he'll improve on that. This is a good test of that.
He had a very good first half of the season, didn't he? And then he wasn't as good second half. But then the start of that second half of the season, when back from injury, was when he dropped the contract bombshell, wasn't it?
Well, exactly, that's it. So I wonder whether or not that might have an impact, which is either way. If he doesn't sign a contract, they still need another centre-back on top of the other centre-back that they need now anyway. So there's 2.
I would say they need one, but at the same time, I wouldn't be too disheartened if Endo was a centre-back option. Like, I know he's shorter, but he can do the position quite well.
I think, for the reasons I've just mentioned, I think they have to be looking to get centre-back in now because they can't just leave it till next summer, and then have to buy 2 or 3.
Red. You chuckle that name in the past.
We've had this before, yeah. As in his name, not this as an entity. Go on.
If we go into Sunday's game with Endo and Gravenberch as centre-back, how much will Gay's price rise by? I don't think there's any suggestion that the centre-back pairing will be Endo and Gravenberch.
No, but I think the point is that it kind of would underline Liverpool's pressing need, and then as we know, that clubs like to put a premium on players that are desperately wanted by clubs. So
And grown too.
Exactly. So
and Palace are notoriously difficult to negotiate with.
Are they?
Yeah, they get good prices for the players.
Well, so do Liverpool.
Yeah.
So maybe,
Okay. And that's Palace whirling with Ben Doak, weren't they, earlier in the summer?
Yeah, Liverpool said no.
Maybe that's something we can revisit. I don't think we can put off Isak for much longer. I think we're going to have to.
Have we got any more? Come on.
I don't think we do. It's just people going, Elliott needs to go, Elliott needs to stay, Nunes needs to go, Nunes needs to stay. So
at least they've got an opinion. They've got a strong opinion either way. At least no one's indifferent over these players. I think they've got the good, while everybody's got the, obviously thinking of the club first, I think when players have played there for that long, you do invest some kind of emotional attachment. It's a good answer, this, isn't it?
You really are putting up answering quite easy, can't you?
Emotional attachment to them. So, I think it will be sad when any of these players go, I think, for that reason. If you've got a winning team, at some point it has to break up. And
you just don't expect it to break up so swiftly after winning the league.
With so many going as well, yeah.
Right. Bid rejected on Friday, 110.
Who's this for, sorry?
110 million. Liverpool then make it clear that they don't currently intend to put in a second offer. But which they haven't. But things can change very quickly in football.
In the world of football. Yeah. In the transfer window.
Eddie Howe has said a lot over the weekend. I think he's sent a stern warning to Isak about what's expected back in training. Isak is back in Newcastle. He's been at the training ground. I think Newcastle landed back home yesterday. They should be in training tomorrow, maybe?
Hello, yeah.
Just checking that out. You don't know? Okay. But yeah, that's basically what's happened over the last few days. But it's a saga that just goes on and on and on and on.
Is it a saga, though?
Yes, now it is a saga.
No, it's not. It's only been going for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Liverpool have been linked with him for months.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? It's not a saga. It's not a saga. It's not a
Producer
saga.
Ian is saying
no,
saga.
It's not a saga.
Let us know in the comments if you think it's a transfer saga.
It's not a saga. Everyone just
this can be your blood red on Friday.
Because there are, I've already written it. Just because there are like 5 updates during a day in which 5 of them say nothing doesn't make it a saga. Yeah. I agree with everything you just said, by the way. Yeah, that is what's happened. Was there a question in there?
Well, this is going to be the bit that producer Ian clips, isn't it?
Oh, right, okay. I better can I put swear words in it so you can never use it?
Liverpool have said, as things stand, they will not be putting in a second bid.
That's correct.
Do you expect it to stay that way?
No, I don't think anyone does. I wrote this at the weekend. It's all about playing a game. It's about perceptions. Let's be honest. You could argue it's a massive power play by Liverpool, and I wrote this and said, so what's that? You don't want £110 million for this player who's actively avoiding you. Okay, bye. So it's like at some point they're going to go, Now, we know that Isak wants to come to Liverpool when his agent, if the quotes are actually correct, the other week said that, they're looking at options. We know that Isak has told Newcastle this anyway. And we know that his main option is going to Liverpool. Now, how much? There was some reports or suggestions that Liverpool are being regarded as bottlers by bidding £110 million for
from the North East, wasn't it? Yeah.
And it's like, hang on, if they make that bid up front, it would literally make him the British transfer record, because other deals such as the Wirtz one are reliant on add-ons. So it's like, well, that's not really bottling, is it? Let's be honest. That's just again, that's game playing. Newcastle are doing it because they're protecting their interests. They're also protecting their image, because the last thing they want is to see their best player leave to a team that they would regard as more or less a direct rival, given the fact that they've just beaten them in a cup final. Liverpool, for their part, are just taking a quite relaxed view on it because they know this player wants to come. They don't want to agitate too much, and they don't want to spend 150 million, I reckon, on him, because this is a player who while he spent a little bit of time at Borussia Dortmund, didn't make that many appearances for them, but a lot early in his career. Again, I wrote this at the weekend. I think he's made 6 appearances in the Champions League. 3 of them were as a sub in his career. And while he's played in, I don't think he's played in the World Cup, has he? Sweden didn't qualify, did they? But he's played in the European Championship, certainly at least one. But the fact is, of the last 2 seasons in the Premier League, he's scored a lot of goals, and that's why Liverpool's willing to spend big on him. But compared to some of the other players, he's probably not got quite the same level of experience at such a high level. So Liverpool don't want to go out and spend absolutely tons on him. But the fact that they're willing to spend at least £110 million on him suggests that they're serious about it. So I don't really think there's anywhere that this is going to go other than it's not going to go away, basically. I mean, I read somewhere that Liverpool have walked away. That's not true. There's a difference between walking away and saying we're not going to make another bid at the moment. They're definitely not walking away because they'd say we're not going to make another bid ever again, and that's it. We've ended our interest in the player.
Like they did for Jude Bellingham. Not that they ever made a bid in the first place, but you get my point.
Well, exactly. So I think Liverpool are serious players in the transfer window. The Wirtz thing was a massive deal for them. Literally, it was a massive deal, but it was a massive deal because it was one after Caicedo the other year and the Bellingham interest. I think people thought, the detractors of Liverpool thought that they were just playing around, but clearly they're not. And they're not messing about with this Isak thing either. They've got a plan, and the plan at the moment is just to sit tight and see what happens up in Newcastle, see what Isak does, see whether he responds to, you mentioned, wasn't so much of a veiled threat, but it was quite right, Eddie Howe. I mean, we mentioned before on this podcast, I feel a bit sorry for him. Everybody else is just saying nothing. And it's just like, because Newcastle have played that many games on the tour, it's like...
He's had to do so many press conferences.
And he keeps getting asked him. It's like, well...
And every single one,
exactly,
he's like, I don't really know. I'm not involved.
He's on the other side of the world. And this player who we've said, I just read the other day that he's actually in he's in Spain. Yeah, so I feel a bit sorry for him. But that's just the transfer window. And no, it's not a saga. Just because he's done 6 press conferences in about a week.
He just keeps a few comments here agreeing with you. Red. We all linked with Mbappe for years, but that wasn't a saga. I suppose that depends if you go with our business plan or not. I think we made that a transfer saga for a few years.
Yeah.
Giannis.
I can't believe you just said that.
It's fine. It's gone. It's done.
We don't do that anymore.
Not a saga. 3-week transfer story. Drama.
Hang on, I didn't do it anyway. You did it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Drama that's been created by delusional Geordies. I wonder if they're watching again this one. They've watched a couple of our Isak podcasts, haven't they?
I think I'm being really kind to them. I think I'm taking a very, very considered view on this because Newcastle are being put into a bit of a difficult situation because they've now offered him, from the reports, because obviously we don't cover Newcastle from what we're reading and what we're hearing, they've offered him a new contract, Isak, and he's gone, no, I'm not interested. Why would I be interested? Because I quite clearly want to leave and join Liverpool. So they just want to get as much money as they can now, probably, because they don't want a player who is the best player, is the most influential player, but isn't going to be, by definition, fully committed, at least at the moment, by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
That might change. I mean, they're all, obviously, these footballers professionally get paid a lot of money, all this, that, and the other. And the thing about, these players aren't trying, that never happens. When they go out on there, they're always trying on the pitch, they're always trying. But the question is whether they want him on the pitch, because it could be a massive distraction.
They've got 2 friendlies, don't they? Friday and Saturday. Initially, he was expected to play, but then Howell came out and said he doesn't know if he's going to train with the team this week.
And that's because they only want players, quite rightly, who are fully committed to the Newcastle cause. So just in the same, Liverpool would want exactly the same thing. So it's a tough situation for them. It's not of Liverpool's making. Liverpool just want to sign a really good player, and that's just what happens. And they've made the bid, and that's why they've said we're not going to make a second bid at the moment, because they don't want to unsell. But then everybody knows, go back to what I was saying at the beginning, it's the game that they're playing. It's all about the perceptions. And so the onus now is on Newcastle to, as they are doing, it looks like they're trying to sign replacements for Isak before they let him go. And they're going to get a lot of money for him. They'll probably be able to sign somebody else on top of that.
Redman's going, I'm dreading today because Isak will meet with Eddie Howe and I'm having nightmares about him agreeing to stay for another 12 months and then Liverpool having to scramble to bring in alternative forward options. If they do miss out on him, are there any alternative targets? We're definitely light up front, especially if Nunes and Chiesa leave.
Well, he won't, will he? That's the whole point. Is that if they don't sign Isak, they don't sell Nunes. They might let Chiesa go because Nunes
I'd imagine they go for more of a left winger.
Yeah, but Nunes still played a large part. I think he played in 30 or 38 games or something like that of a team that won the Premier League, got to a League Cup final, got to a Champions League round of six. I know he missed the penalty in the game against PSG, but he did set up the goal for Harvey Elliott in Paris. And he won part of a team that, I know, again, he didn't play in the final, won the League Cup the year before that. So, yes, the players played a part in Liverpool winning trophies. And if he ends up staying for another season because Liverpool don't sign Isak, then fair enough. It is basically Isak or nothing, I reckon, for Liverpool. They're not going to look for another forward.
I'm not sure. I reckon they might need another one. Maybe they go more left-sided, maybe, because of Diaz going.
How are they paying for it? I know they've got a lot of money now, but come on.
Well,
I would be surprised.
You
Let's
look
put
at
it that way.
the attacks that started these two games yesterday. The one that started the second game was the first choice front three, as things stand. But then you look at the one that started the first game. Nunes could go. Engamo is only 16. Doak could go. If you include the number 10 in that, Elliott could go. We can say Wirtz can play in a front three. Szoboszlai can. Frimpong can.
Doak didn't play at all last season. Chiesa hardly played, so there's those two, right?
But it still feels like you need another body in there.
Diaz is gone, and obviously we know that what happened with Diogo Jota, unfortunately. So from that point of view, yeah, you could be right, but I don't think they will want to spend anything on anything other than Isak, because they might get him for even cheaper next year or even in January.
That bombshell. I think that's all we've got time for today. Thanks for joining me, Doyle, and thanks for tuning in, all you at home. We'll hopefully be back later in the week to preview.
It's a big hope as well.
It's a big hope. It basically depends on my rota, because we've got me into Wembley. We've got all three of us into Wembley.
Yeah.
So we'll wait and see what we can do with that. But anyway, until next time, thank you and goodbye.